So as of today, I have been on YouTube for exactly 10 years. It was 10 years ago today that I uploaded my first video, which was about the vintage Kenner Skiff toy. I'm actually still pretty proud of that video. It's a little different than what I do now in some ways, but I think it turned out well. I'd encourage you to go back and look at it if you haven't seen it. I'll put a link in the video description. But since then, I've uploaded, according to my YouTube app, 483 videos, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that includes things like shorts or not, but either way, I haven't really done a lot of shorts, so I would say it's hovering right around 500. And I've got 33,500 subscribers, which, that's pretty impressive, thinking about it. That many people would want to subscribe to a channel that is admittedly this niche in its content. But, that said, over 10 years, you do tend to pick up a lot of, people who subscribe and then sort of don't come back. So I don't think my actual user base or viewer base or whatever you want to call it is anywhere near 33,000 at the moment. But still, it is very impressive. On the other hand, part of me would like to have gotten to 100,000 just because you get some recognition from YouTube in the form of a plaque. I don't think that's going to happen probably, unless I were to really sort of substantially change how I am doing this channel and possibly even change the content, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that, so I think I'm just going to have to be satisfied with more or less where I am, and that's fine. I'm not doing this for basically anything except just my own enjoyment and satisfaction, and not doing it for money, certainly. That would be foolish. I do enjoy sort of, talking with people about this kind of stuff that I, enjoy, Jabba, Star Wars, and stuff like that. I enjoy making the videos usually as a sort of a artistic outlet, I guess. That said, I have had some ups and downs over the years. There was a period of a number of months where I sort of just stopped making videos. I got kind of burned out, I suppose, and I don't know. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I did come back when the pandemic hit, essentially. I was like, maybe we all could use a little something to take our minds off of everything that's happening, myself very much included, and so I started up making videos again at that point, and I haven't really stopped, although I haven't been the most, regular uploader, let's say, and that is still true today. But you gotta admit, for a channel that's focused so laser focused on one sort of character, one part of one movie of, one movie franchise, it is impressive that I've been able to do as much as I have done. Now, of course, I also did do some things that are only sort of tangentially related to Jabba. I did a number of 3D printing projects, which I haven't been doing recently. I've done other craft projects and stuff, but, the through line here, the main sort of shared content that all of these videos tend to have is Jabba and my sort of fascination for that, his world there in his palace and all the things that go with that. In terms of, talking about the future of the channel, I don't expect things to change much, to be honest with you. I think I'm going to continue going the way I'm going, probably uploading like 2 to 3 videos a month, possibly less, possibly more, depending on what's going on. To be honest with you, we've gotten to the point after 483 videos and so forth, and also after several years, I guess I should step back a second and explain, before I did this video stuff on YouTube, I was writing about Jabba and my collection on mightyjabba.com, which was a sort of a blog site that I had. It's still there if you want to go back and look at my old posts. That started actually in 2009. So I've been doing this for quite some time, and the actual collection itself predates that by at least a couple of years, if not more. I think it's fair to say I've been collecting Jabba for nearly 20 years, I guess, which is a little bit hard to believe. My kids, both of them, don't really remember a time, I think, when I wasn't a Jabba collector, which I think is kind of funny. So yeah, I started originally the blog as a kind of, the same kind of thing, a creative outlet, somewhere to write about stuff, and also to just record my collection in a casual manner. And I think in that sense, it was fine, but I never got any kind of traction. I never got anybody really reading what I was writing there. I would occasionally get a comment about something, and it was always because someone had like Googled something related to Jabba and it came up on my site. But yeah, they never really got what I would call a steady readership. There were a few people who came back, again and again to read, but basically it was just me doing this for my my own self. And after a few years, that gets a little bit old. Contrast that with doing things on YouTube and doing things on Instagram, which I am also on, posting mostly, well, originally it was mostly new additions to the collection, although recently I've gone back and have been posting some older things as well. When I post things on YouTube and Instagram, I get a lot of interaction with people. I get people commenting, saying things, oh, I remember that, I had this and that, or sometimes fairly frequently, actually, we'll get people telling me about new things or occasionally old things that I just had never heard of related to Jabba. And it's just, even though, let's be fair, Instagram as a platform has a lot of problems, and it's not very good as a kind of a resource for cataloging anything in the, my blog was a lot better in that way because you could search it easily, go back and see old posts easily, whereas Instagram actively discourages you from doing that kind of thing. It's frustrating to me, but the people are there, and it's, as long as you're avoiding certain things, it's actually a fairly decent community as well, related to Star Wars and toys and things like that. So I do mostly enjoy using that. I'm rambling a little bit here, but the point is I wanted to just make a video kind of just marking this time, this milestone, but it's not as though anything's really going to change, I don't think. I'm not giving up collecting Jabba, but at the same time, I have almost everything. I really do. Very, very occasionally, something will come up that is an already existing product that I've never heard of, and I'm like, whoa, I'll have to put that on my want list. But that's very, very unusual nowadays. And as well, the kind of new material, new Jabba-related merchandise is few and far between. That's one reason why I've been so happy with Regal Robot and their archive collection, where they've been adding stuff just, one could argue a little bit too quickly. It's a little hard to keep up sometimes, but it's just been awesome to see a company adding that kind of stuff, in this day and age in particular, when we've got a lot of other places like Gentle Giant just going out of business and so forth. Yeah, point is, there aren't a lot of new things coming out. I'm not, at this point in my life, trying to, kind of manufacture things to make videos about as much as I might have been in the past, craft projects or whatever like that. So you may find that there's not as many videos coming out on the channel, but it's not really indicative of anything in particular. It's just, these things have ebbs and flows. They change over time. And I imagine there'll be more in the future when, for example, when the new movie that's supposed to be having Rota the Hutt, Jabba's son, in it comes out, I hope to see a lot of new merchandise for that, for example. You may notice over here from time to time a little bit of flickering. One of my lights appears to be dying, and I've actually ordered a replacement already, but I haven't got it set up yet. I've had these current ones for about 6 years, and they've actually worked pretty well. Funny story, when I first started doing these videos, I didn't have any kind of setup like this or any lighting. And basically all I had was a kind of white board, not a whiteboard, but piece of white cardboard that I would use as a backdrop that kind of folded in half. And I would take that out onto the front porch when I would want to take a video or take nice pictures. And it actually worked surprisingly well, I will say that. And that's actually what I did for that first video I was talking about the Kenner Skiff, and some of my earlier videos as well were taken using that lighting. And I don't really have any complaints about the quality of that, I guess, but you had to do it at exactly the right time of day for it to actually work right. And there was one point where I was out there, kind of on display for the whole neighborhood, and one of my neighbors, who I didn't really know, but I mean, they're from the neighborhood, they walked by and they're like, boy, didn't expect to see this on my morning walk or something along those lines. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's time I went inside before, people saw me on my porch playing with my toys. So I decided to finally set up a little bit of a photo studio type thing here. So I've got, I don't know if I've talked about this on other videos or not, but I've got a roll of white paper here that is coming down onto a couple of IKEA tables, and basically that's it. It's a nice setup. It's actually getting pretty dirty, and it's got some holes in it and stuff. I'm going to have to roll out a new section of paper to get a fresh one pretty soon, but I've actually found this to be pretty useful, especially for someone who doesn't really want to be on camera. And in terms of lights, all I have two softbox lights, that provide a kind of diffuse lighting. You want to have generally, one on either side. But I do, depending on what I'm, recording, I will move them around and stuff to get the optimal lighting situation. Well, anyway, for the rest of this video, I wanted to make a little bit of a pickups video, as I do periodically on the channel, just to show what I've added to the collection. It's been a little while since I've done that, and this is one, honestly, it's a little bit thin in terms of the number of items that I have to show you, but I guess that's about right for the length that this video is going to be. So you may be wondering what we're looking at right here for the last however many minutes. This right here is a very interesting piece. A little background, first of all. You may remember that Angry Birds Star Wars came out around, I guess, 2013, 14, around there. And it was, at least as far as I can remember, it was mostly a mobile app. People would play on their phones and things, or iPads, that kind of thing. Obviously, Angry Birds was a thing, but then they came out with the Angry Birds Star Wars version with Star Wars characters, and at one point they added Jabba as a character, so I was really excited about that. And they were coming out with plushes and other kinds of figures. They had a lot of stuff, a lot of toys, like physical versions of stuff that you would do in the game. They made toys for those. I want to make a video about all that, but it's been a little bit difficult because it's kind of involved to do all of that, and I wanted to show what the actual game looked like and things like that. So I just haven't quite gotten up the courage, I guess you'd say, to actually start that kind of video. But I thought when I saw this, I wanted to at least show it to y'all. This is the Jabba the Hutt pig. As you may recall, the pigs in Angry Birds are kind of the antagonists, the bad guys, and they made Jabba into sort of a pig for that reason. And anyway, they at the time, back in 2014-ish, they were going to come out with a plush version of Jabba the Hutt pig, and in fact they had a prototype of that, which you can see right here. I remember posting about it on my channel, all excited and everything, and then I believe, it was essentially that the game lost popularity pretty quickly for whatever reason. Well, not just that game, but just Angry Birds in general as a property. And they canceled it all. They canceled that whole line of large plushes, and all we ever got to see was that picture that I just showed you. But recently I was on Etsy and I saw this guy. He was being sold by a seller called B Smile Handmade Toys, which I will link to in the video description, just for your information. I mean, I don't have any connection with them or anything. They are, in fact, a creator of handmade toys from Ukraine, which I think is interesting that they're able to do that in the midst of everything that's going on in Ukraine. Primarily, they make custom plushes for things that don't already exist in plush form. So if you had something that you wanted to make into a plush, even like a drawing or something, they can, I guess, do that. This one, though, was already made, and I just saw it there on their page, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. This looks kind of familiar. I don't think they were actually trying to recreate that prototype. I probably didn't even know about it, but they were trying to go back to the actual game character and create it fresh from that, and I think it looks amazing. They did a fantastic job. He's quite large, roughly 12 inches tall, I think, and I think, you know, it looks a lot better, as a matter of fact, than the version that I showed you, the prototype. It wasn't cheap, but, you know, it's a custom plush, even though I didn't actually, you know, have them customize anything. I just took the one that they already had made as an example, but I was really excited to find this. I just find his expression here really funny. And yeah, that's about it for that. As I say, I do hope to actually make a video about Angry Birds as a, you know, Angry Birds Star Wars as a property later on, but I can't make any promises as to when that's going to happen. Our next item is a Max Rebo item. And, you know, even though I do collect you know, Jabba first and foremost, and basically all of the characters from Jabba's palace, there's a special place in my heart for old Max. I just really like his design, so iconic. And so I was very excited when I found that this had been released at Disney parks, so Disneyland, Disney World. I don't know if they're releasing them anywhere else, you know, in the world, but you can get them at the Toydarian Toy Maker, and they have a whole line of similar toys there that they look, I mean, they're obviously made out of plastic, but they're made to look like they're made out of wood, carved out of wood somehow. So that's what we have here. And this one, anyway, is a wind-up toy. Now, one thing that confused me when I first got this, if you look on the bottom, there's a battery compartment, and then there's a switch with on and off. This, I believe, is still in the on position, but it won't do anything until you actually wind it up. You have to physically wind it up like this. And it takes a fair amount if you want it to play very long. And let's see here. Go. All right, so it will just, you know, keep going for as long as you've wound it up. The music only plays while it's turning, essentially. And, of course, it plays Laptinek from the original cut of Return of the Jedi. I think this is just adorable. I really, really like this toy. It costs $29.95 at the parks. I think I paid like $55, including shipping, on eBay, which is not terrible, really, when you consider how much it cost originally. I mean, $30 is pretty high already, but yeah, I'm really happy to get this guy in my collection. Our next item is much smaller, as you can probably tell. This is a Doorables Jabba the Hutt. I think, included in a previous video a Doorables Jabba the Hutt, but it was a different one. You can see right here. This one is actually made of a different material. It's a squishy material, and it is something of a different design. The previous one had kind of odd eyes that had a, you know, almost like a lens on them, and a bit of a different style. This one, as you can see, is a very minimalist type sculpt, but it is pretty cute. I'm not really sure what they're made of. Some kind of, it seems like a silicone almost. This one, they came in you know, packs of like, I don't remember how many, 6 or 8, and you would it's just a blind pack, so you wouldn't know what you're going to get. I decided not to deal with any of that, and especially because I didn't know where to find them in stores. I just bought mine on eBay, and I also got this one on eBay, which is kind of the I guess it's kind of a chase version. This is a sort of a Force hologram or something, I guess was what they called it. The good guys, quote unquote, had blue ones, and then the bad guys had red ones, but they're just, alternate colorways of these figures, and they're both quite squishy, as you can tell. Pretty cute, although I do have my worries about how well these will hold up over time. Sometimes this kind of unusual, squishy material deteriorates over time, but we'll see. Speaking of things from Disney parks, we have this item right here that I just fairly recently acquired. This is a Gamorrean Axe, and this was available at Disney parks. Now, when I first saw it, I assumed that it was a new item like the Max Rebo I just showed you, and it was going to be made available in parks soon. But no, it was actually an old item from around 2016, sort of in the Disney Weekends era, I guess. They sold these for $19.99, and it's completely made out of foam, basically. So I guess there's a central plastic core here, but basically it's just all foam, so you could give it to a kid without being too worried about it. All this is very soft, but it looks really realistic, actually. This metal effect is pretty good. The wood could use, more detailing if you wanted it to look really realistic, but I'm pretty impressed with this, given the price and so forth. This is another example, I guess, of things that I found out about. I don't know if I was searching eBay or if I saw it on someone's, social media or not, but in any case, I found out about it, just online, and I can't believe I missed it all this time. Of course, Disney stuff, especially back in the Disney Weekends era, before Disney bought Star Wars, they were fairly limited. You really did have to get them at the parks. So I guess it's not that surprising, but still, I had no idea that this thing existed, and I'm really happy to get it in my collection. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you're familiar with this ceramic Jabba that I'm showing in the background. This was, or at least the original was, kind of a paint-your-own pottery kind of thing, where people would, have a plain white ceramic thing and put glaze on it or paint on it and make their own pottery. And I had several of these in my collection and really like them, even though they're quite rare to find. In the course of almost 20 years of looking, I really have only found 4 or 5 of them. But anyway, at one point I did find the original mold for this guy, and I decided to, at one point many years later than that, to send it off to Recollection Toys, who kindly agreed to sort of collaborate and make a very limited run of these new ceramic figures, which were sold about a year ago, I guess. And that's what you're looking at right here. This is actually a newly created one. But I've done a lot of things with this. I scanned it, 3D scanned it, and made that 3D model available for people to download on the internet so you can 3D print it. And a lot of people have done that. They've printed it at various sizes. I've done everything from teeny tiny to gigantic versions of this. And I've seen a lot of people, as I say, print them and post them online. But I recently received something that was kind of extraordinary, so I wanted to share that with you. Reader/viewer named William was taking a jewelry creation course, a jewelry making course, I guess I should say, and he decided to use this 3D model as the basis for something that he was going to create, kind of a Jabba idol. And so this was the thing he originally printed out, I guess, in sort of an orangey red filament. You can see it's hollow. And then I think if I've got the order here correctly, would have used that to make a silicone mold, which is what you see here. That would, fit in there. And then use the silicone mold to I think make this wax version. This is, you know, something that you would use typically as a kind of intermediate step, so that you can easily melt it away, and you know, once you're done with it, you don't really have anything left. So normally this would be just disappeared after you use it. I think this is a separate one that he made just as an example. But yeah, you use this, and then you can use that to create a metal version, and that's what he did. This is, I guess, just some kind of pot metal. It's not precious metal, it's not silver or anything, but it's still really cool looking. He said it turned out, you know, that it ended up being solid, so it's quite heavy, and I think that's actually pretty cool, but it was not quite what he had in mind originally, I guess. But still looks extremely cool in metal. I think this is really awesome, and I'm glad he sent it to me. He also sent me this version, which is not related to the process of making this, I don't think, but his instructor said it would be cool to put some plastisol in the mold. And plastisol is a squishy material, not unlike those Doorables I showed you earlier in the video, and it is definitely fun to play around with. So again, thank you very much, William, for sending these in. I do appreciate it a lot. Our final item today is going to be this pennant, and this is going to require a little bit of explanation because, well, this is not really related to Jabba at all in reality, but in my heart it is. JABBA is the old name of the Japan Basketball Association. Nowadays they call it the JBA, like NBA. But back in the 80s and I think up until 2000 something, they were called JABBA. And so we have a fair amount of memorabilia with that on it, JABBA. In fact, I have a pin, which you can see here, that has Jabba on it. And I always thought it was, you know, just kind of funny. But then when I found this just randomly on eBay, I was like, wait a minute, this is something kind of special. Because as you can see, it's from 1983. And 1983, of course, is the year that Return of the Jedi came out. It's the year that I associate most with Jabba. And so having this pennant with 1983 and Jabba on it just seems really cool to me. And I have it displayed in my collection room. Here he is next to the pennant, just so for scale. But yeah, really, really cool item, and kind of, you know, one of those oddball, no pun intended, items that I really like to find. Well, I hope you enjoyed looking at the items that I added to my collection in the last few months. Not a huge number of things, but some really nice ones, I think. Yeah, that's about it for today, and I'll see you again soon.